They rolled into battle before dawn, shadows clinging to their tanks like ghosts. In the steel belly of each Sherman, a black soldier gripped the controls, breath fogging in the cold. The engines growled. The men of the 761st weren't just fighting Nazis. They were fighting the weight of history itself. In America, they were second-class citizens. In Europe, they were expected to die for freedom they didn't yet have. But still, they fought. Not with bitterness, but with fury, with pride, with the fire of men who had something to prove. Back home, posters hung in southern towns warning of Negro arrogance. But here, on the frozen roads of France, arrogance wasn't the threat. It was courage, and the 761st had more of it than most generals knew what to do with. By November of 1944, the Allies had cracked the German front in eastern France, but only just. Patton needed tanks, fast. He turned to the 761st, the Black Panthers, the first African-American tank battalion to see combat. The men were assigned to the Third Army. At first, they were told they'd never see the front, that they were too green, that their place was guarding depots, not leading charges. But orders changed, and suddenly, they were thrust into hell. The 761st fought in Alsace, in the Saar, in the freezing woods near Morville. They took villages house by house. Their Shermans were thin-skinned and slow. German tigers tore through them with ease. But the Panthers didn't back down. In one town, they held their position for over 24 hours under constant artillery and sniper fire. They watched friends burn alive in metal coffins and kept moving. They crossed minefields, fought without infantry cover. They cleared bunkers, pushed back panzers, freed towns that didn't even know who they were. They weren't just soldiers. They were legends in the making. In the town of Tillet, Belgium, they were outnumbered 5-1. They took it anyway. At Morville-le-Vicq, they fought for 183 continuous hours, and they didn't break. They kept going when fuel ran low, when rations ran out, when replacement crews were never sent. They buried their own and climbed back into the tanks, faces streaked with soot and grief. This was the middle of the war, and the men of the 761st were becoming something no officer had dared predict: indispensable. They weren't celebrated, not yet. When they returned to their camps, they were still segregated, still denied access to officers' clubs, still stared at by fellow Americans. But on the battlefield, they had proven themselves again and again. They were awarded 11 Silver Stars, nearly 300 Purple Hearts, a posthumous Medal of Honor for Staff Sergeant Reuben Rivers, who refused to abandon his tank after being wounded and fought until his final breath. But the full recognition? That came too late. Their contribution was buried for decades, erased by the very country they fought for. It wasn't until 1978 that the 761st received the Presidential Unit Citation, a long overdue acknowledgement of their sacrifice. Today, their legacy lives on not just in medals, but in the shifting gears of justice, in the footsteps of those who came after, in every soldier who dares to serve with dignity, in a system that still sometimes forgets their name. They called themselves the Black Panthers. Their motto? Come out fighting. And they never stopped. Thank you for listening to Last Post History. Subscribe for more true stories from the world at war.